Hi all, and welcome to another quick commentary on my most recent Speedkill on M5S. The run you will see today is the current fastest ever recorded time on the fight, and I wish to take you through some of the tips and tricks that let us complete 3 LB3s so you can apply them to your own Speedkills in the future. Once again, this commentary assumes that you have already watched my previous guides on limit break generation. If you are interested in the whole series, I will provide a playlist that links to all of my limit break related content in the description. In today's commentary, I'm going to touch a bit more on decision making as an LB planner and how to go about making the right choices in building your ideal LB plan. So sit back and enjoy.
Come on,
Come on, come on,
yes!
come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
Yes!
Please
There
be a
we go.
37. Please be a 37.
Boom, baby!
Please be 38. Please be 37.
That has to be it.
That's
Stop panicking.
37, for fucking sure. I don't believe it any other way.
It's a 37.
Let's go!
Oh my
Oh.
god. Go!
We start the fight with a standard pre-pull LB opener. Instead of casting Celestial Opposition immediately like I normally would, I instead throw a Celestial Intersection to my main tank for the autos, and an Essential Dignity to my off tank to generate double critical healing on both of them. Furthermore, our Scholar leaves Eos on guard mode and baits a single Embrace, once again generating double critical healing. Only after these heals have come out do I use Celestial Opposition to generate on the rest of the party. These little details end up being a 900 unit LB gain. Pretty good. We dodge Star by placing it on the east side of the arena, and then a Tank Buster appears. In basically all the fights, a boss starts off with a raid wide, but M5S is special. It starts with a Tank Buster instead. Now, the first instinct of any LB planner is simple. Can we tank the Tank Buster as a party to generate LB? The answer is yes, you can. However, this forces you into a big dilemma of decision making. You see, while generating LB on the Tank Buster is great and all, it requires you to dump a lot of resources into doing it. You have to use a ton of mitigation, shields, and healing to make sure that everyone lives. Furthermore, the bleed from the Tank Buster can cause a lot of randomness, which can make it extremely hard to keep your HP in control. Not having control over your HP means another problem. How will you generate LB on the following mechanics? The answer is quite often very simple. You can't. LB planning is a game of resources. If you spend resources on one thing, you can't use it on another. Finding out how to create the most value out of your resources is extremely important in creating a consistent LB plan. So, instead of generating on the Tank Buster, we hold on our resources and use Celestial Opposition to manage our HPs towards our first threshold. Speaking of thresholds, every single threshold is listed above my party list in my cool little echo macro, so you can follow along a little bit. I found that a single person calling out the thresholds in the fight is extremely useful for speeding up LB prog, so I recommend doing the same. I throw a Celestial Intersection to my Dark Knight when he drops to 1 HP with Living Dead, and prepare for our first raid wide X snap, twist and drop the needle, or as I like to call it, play 1. M5S is unique in a way that every play can either be an A play, which is the rolls, or a B play, which is light parties. However, play B deals a lot more damage than play A, so how do you go about this in LB planning? Well, here we get into a concept I like to call normalizing. Whenever you have damage instances that are unequal through randomness or timing, you can always try to find methods to normalize them so that they are the same. For play A and play B, we found a bunch of different normalization methods. We will see a couple of these throughout the fight, as while we were planning, we learned more and more methods to do it. The first method is the Rep Addle Feint method. By using Reprisal, Addle, and Feint on play B, instead of play B dealing about 30k more damage, it now only deals 2k more damage than play A, which, is perfect. Now we have completely removed the randomness from the first part of this fight. So, the fight starts with play A. We use Heart of Light and Fail Illumination to mitigate it. My threshold is 79k for this raid wide, but if I overshoot it, I can click off Fail Illumination's 5% mitigation. If I overshoot it heavily, I can click off Heart of Light's 10% mitigation. If I fell asleep while thresholding, I can even click off both. Having multiple mids on a single raid wide gives you extra control over your threshold, which lets you eliminate randomness in LB planning. Of course, you have to remember the LB planning rule. If you use resources somewhere, you can't use them elsewhere. But this trick can be super useful if you need consistent generation. After play 1 hits, we start thresholding for the second play. Since the first one was play A, this one will always play B. We use Rep Adult Feint to normalize the damage and enter our burst window. Now, the 1 minute set of rate wides is a big challenge for LB generation. It's 3 rate wides in a row, which can be quite difficult to manage, as there is a lot of variance involved. As a rule, we decided not to do any HP thresholding with regens during the burst windows, as ease of use is incredibly important in LB plans. Instead, we execute a technique that revolves around using consistent sources of healing. You see, all direct heals can crit in some way or another, which hurts consistency. However, Scholar possesses a borderline overpowered skill called Recitation, which guarantees a crit on their next heal. This makes using Recitation with Indomitability or with Spreadlow shields incredibly powerful, since they do not have any crit variance. The other heal in the game that's decently consistent is Macrocosmos. Why only decently consistent? Because while the 50% damage compiler is fully consistent, the 200 base cure is not. It can actually crit like a normal heal, but luckily since the potency is only 200, the crit doesn't massively affect the variance. So we take a hit from play B, use Recitation Indom to generate healing ticks, pop Macrocosmos, get hit by Celebrate Good Times, once again pop a heal, giving us more ticks, and heal up for the Disco Infernal, where we can greet some more ticks if we need it, to complete our first LB3. During Funky Floor, I want to talk about something I feel like is very often overlooked in LB planning: consistency. A big learning curve for aspiring LB planners lies in consistency. Oftentimes, newbie planners will try to maximize their LB gains, which often means that they have to sacrifice consistency or ease of use for diminishing returns. In fact, finding ways to generate consistent LB generation is much more valuable than finding ways to generate maximum LB generation. We could have used more thresholds in the fight. We could have used Eos generation. We could have done so many more difficult techniques, but instead, we kept it as simple as possible. And I would personally say having over 6 thresholds or more in a single fight is borderlining on too much already. Anything more than that and you are probably doing too much for too little return. You should always attempt to reduce player input, while highly valuing easy methods of generation. Minimize the points of possible failure by reducing the amount of thresholding and difficult timings that you have to do. A great example of how this can work in a real scenario is how we execute the first wave beats mechanic. There is a decision to be made here. We could have thresholded our HP for the first beat, healed up, and generated on both beats, but we found a solution that was quite simply to just enter with full HP, pop the perfect amount of mids, and generate a perfect 3600 units on the second beat. While the first option would have generated slightly more LB, the second option is reliable, works every time, and requires almost zero player input, since it's just working by pressing a couple mids. This kind of generation is extremely important for consistency, but also for team morale. If you have an extremely difficult LB plan that requires a lot of things to go right, and a lot of player input to execute, people will start making more mistakes, which brings down the morale and the enjoyment of the game. Low morale in speed killing is horrible since it spirals into a cycle of diminishing returns, and it's hard to regain. So if you are an LB planner for your speeds team, keep it simple, unless you have no other choice. The greatest LB planner is not known for the size of his gains, but for the ease with which he achieves it. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Okay, enough about that. Let's return to the fight. Funky Floor is over, and we are about to get hit by play B. Remember the normalization that we did earlier? Well, we don't have enough resources left to equalize. We used too much early in the fight, so now we are stuck with a problem. But fear not, there is a solution. A second method to normalize play B is as follows. Split up the party in 5-3 groups. Have one healer stack up with the 2 tanks in a 3-man stack, and have everyone else stack up together in a 5-man stack. The healer in the 3-man stack, in this case me, will take more damage, so we use the Blackest Night and an ablation to reduce the heavy damage I'm taking. Lastly, we use Feint to reduce the damage just a little bit more, and there we go. Now we have once again normalized play B to deal the same amount of damage as play A.
Note, this is not actually how we did it. We had to actually adjust the mitigation plan a little bit to account for the Celebrate Good Times that came after. However, this is still a very efficient way to normalize play A and play B. If you need your Astrologian to drop lower, you can actually drop Ablation and only use TBN. Use at your own discretion. We cannot be held accountable for any LB lost by using these tactics.
Now, remember what I told you about consistency? You don't want to introduce difficulty in your LB plans unless you specifically need to. Well, now we do. To get our free LB3 plan done, we really need some extra LB during this dancing mechanic. In this mechanic, each player gets hit by a protean, so it's basically a raid wide in a suspicious jacket. So the big challenge in this mechanic is how spread out the damage is. While technically everyone takes one hit, the individual hits are spread out over quite a long period of time. In fact, between the first and the last proteans, we regenerate almost 10k HP through natural regeneration. We can start off by thresholding our HP for the first proteans, but at some point we will end up regenerating so much HP that we are way beyond the levels of the threshold. But there is a solution. We use Feint very early, so it only covers the first 4 proteans. This way, the last 4 proteans will deal a bit more damage, once again normalizing the damage of the proteans in relation to our natural HP regeneration. Notice how normalization is a large trend in LB planning? Foreshadowing for the future, I suppose. Since all the hits are so spread out, I can actually start farming single target healing ticks using Celestial Intersection and Essential Dignity. And since they're all doubled, it's quite staggering how much limit break you are actually able to generate on this mechanic. Yeah, it's difficult, but was it worth it? Absolutely. Trying to optimize where you can get single target healing in for free without ruining the rest of your LB plan is extremely vital to creating extra consistency in your plans, and is a highly valuable skill for especially astrologians to master. And now, maybe this comes as a surprise, but this is already the end of the video. But we're only like 2 minutes into the fight, how can this be the end? Well, by now I've given you all the major tips and tricks that we used for the LB plan, as well as some philosophy and decision making around LB planning in general. From this point on, you can analyze and review the footage for yourself, and see if you can spot all the details. There are hundreds more tips and tricks out there, so if you wish to learn more and more about speed killing, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel for future content, and join my speed killing Discord. In this Discord server, you can learn and discuss everything there is to know about speed killing, as well as staying updated with the new techniques and videos coming out. There are numerous speed killing veterans and teams on this server, so if you have questions, you will find your answers here. For those interested, I will also be doing top speeds in 7.3, so look out for some awesome content in the future. I also want to mention that I am recruiting players for a 7.4 speed killing team, so if you are interested, shoot me a DM. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you all in the next speed kill.